It is my pleasure to introduce to you a tireless advocate, a tireless fighter, and a tireless person of caring, commitment, and courage to this issue. When she became the director of the South Carolina Victims Assistance Network in 2000, the first thing she did was call me and ask me to come and help her decide how she wanted to have her tenure be working in this field of victims assistance. Because not only does she understand what it's like to be a victim of intimate violence, she cares deeply for those who are affected and impacted by all types of victimization and trauma. Veronica Swain Kunz has served as Chief Executive Officer of the South Carolina Victim Assistance Network since 2000 and assisted in criminal prosecutions with the Attorney General's Office for 8 years prior to working with S.E. Band. Veronica serves as Vice Chair of the South Carolina Victim Services Coordinating Council and was recently named a finalist to receive a national award from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation in recognition of her work as a community health leader. A survivor of family and sexual violence, Veronica is a passionate advocate for our state's crime victims. Please welcome my friend, Veronica Swain Kunz.
Thank you all so much for inviting me to be here with you today. So I did want to share with you a little bit about my story. Unfortunately, it's really not that unusual of a story. I mean, many of you here today have lived through what I lived through. Maybe you've talked about it before, and maybe it's something that you've tried as hard as you can to forget. But for me, it was a catalyst for my life's work as a victim advocate, as a spokesman for all those kids who depend on us to protect them from their worst nightmare. So like I say, my story is not that unusual. I was sexually abused by a relative, my father. My very first memory is of him showing me how to perform a sex act on him. I was so young, I really didn't realize what was going on. I wasn't scared, I wasn't embarrassed, I wasn't ashamed, but I was disgusted. As I got older, he stopped molesting me, but every day, my life consisted of other terrible things that he did to terrify me. Like he beat up my mom on a regular basis. He kept the most raunchy pornography all over the house so that the kids could look at it anytime we wanted to. He threatened to take my beloved sisters on special trips alone with him, and I knew exactly what that meant. I was 13 when he shot a guy right in front of me. It was his best friend. He molested my sisters, most of my friends, my cousins, my neighbors. I know about at least 40 people that never came forward to hold this man accountable for his crimes. I'm sure his victims number in the hundreds. I mean, we hear so much about child sexual abuse nowadays. Is it even shocking anymore? Well, you know what? And when you know as much as I do about sexual predators, this story is not shocking at all. Incredibly, despite people like me coming forward to tell our stories of how our souls were murdered when the people we trusted to take care of ourselves, or to take care of us and to love us, did something as disgusting as try to have sex with us when we were little kids, it is still a common thing today in our world for little children to be forced to have sex with adults. 1 in 4 girls are sexually abused before the age of 18. 1 in 6 little boys are sexually victimized. Now, what is shocking about my story is that my dad was arrested. He was caught 15 times for crimes, for sex crimes, for drugs, and other violent assaults. The last time he was arrested and convicted, he raped his girlfriend's 12-year-old daughter, and he was sent to Maryland's notorious Lorton prison. You know, I was thrilled. I mean, I thought maybe this time he would be held accountable for all those lives that he tried to ruin. Unfortunately, after just a few months, he was let out after a successful appeal. When his 12-year-old victim heard that she might have to face this monster again in court, she tried to kill herself. The most shocking thing about my story is that despite the 15 times my dad was caught hurting people, the man was never held in jail any longer than a few months. Why? Because he had money, because he could hire a decent defense attorney, because he was white and middle class with a decent job and a nice family, and you know, he just didn't seem like a sexual predator. I've been listening to stories just like mine for the past 12 years at SC Van, and I'm still shocked that child rapists like my dad are not held accountable for their crimes. Why do we still have so many victims? Let me tell you, because we're letting the offenders get away with it. The truth is that these offenders can admit that they have sex with a child, and get this, prosecutors and judges allow them to walk right out of the courtroom with probation. No jail time. It happens every day in our state. Take, for example, Dr. Richard Crooks in Greenville a couple years back. Two very credible adults came forward to report that Dr. Crooks had molested them right there in his doctor's office when they were little kids. One of these guys was a career law enforcement officer. The other, a very successful Atlanta businessman. Neither had ever met each other. They came to Solicitor Ariel and told them their stories, and Solicitor Ariel said their words were not sufficient to take this case forward. Well, these guys knew that Dr. Crooks was still seeing little boys in his office, and he knew that sexual predators do not stop unless they're stopped. So what these two brave men did is they took their story to the news. And do you know what? In 2 days, 7 more grown men came forward to say that they were also victims of Dr. Crooks. So, what did Dr. Crooks get for molesting at least 9 young boys? You guessed it, a suspended sentence. Probation. Dr. Crooks never stepped 1 foot in jail. I am shocked that prosecutors make deals where convicted sex offenders don't go to jail. I'm shocked that judges allow these deals to happen. I'm shocked that the laws of our state don't demand that sex offenders stay behind bars. I'm shocked that DSS allows sex offenders to live in the homes where the children that they have just sexually abused live if they get treatment. Just look at what happened with Susan Smith. Her dad admitted on the witness stand that he had had sex with her when he was a little girl. Has that man ever been brought to justice? In my opinion, that man and her mom, who let the guy move right back in her house, murdered the soul of Susan Smith. And just think about who paid for it. We all pay for it when the worst offenders, those who would rape children, are not locked away where they can't hurt other kids. We pay for it when those kids grow up with damaged souls and don't believe that they are worthy of love. Or they live forever with a crushing shame about something that had absolutely nothing to do with them and it was not their fault. We pay for them when they turn to drugs or alcohol or violence as an expression of the pain that they're living through. The pain of us not listening to them, of us not helping them, of us not holding their monsters accountable. The pain of us not being shocked anymore. I'm calling on everyone here to get angry. We have got to work together to hold these offenders accountable for their crimes. I'm calling for minimum mandatory sentences for sex offenders. I'm calling for all 16 solicitors to agree together today to never plead down a lewd act on a child to a simple assault. They can do that. Forget probation. Sex offenders have got to go to jail every time they plead guilty for a sex crime. What is jail for if not for our most dangerous offenders? We have got to protect those children who are depending on us to save them. We've got to make stories like mine unusual. Thanks for listening.